York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 153. How to stay on track with your diet and exercise while traveling. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. And if you stumbled upon this is the best muscle building, fat burning fitness network ever. Today's episode, very, very exciting. So let's say you're making great strides in your current program and it's time to travel. How do you manage to stay on track while traveling? In today's episode, the big guys, will teach you how to manage your progress while traveling. Big guy. Man, speaking of traveling, this is the perfect episode for it. This week is the Arnold Classic.
I was just thinking that myself. It's funny because we always say that the stuff we talk about is exactly what we do, you know, on the podcast, in our own lives, and just day to day. But it's so true, and this is very fitting for that because we were just before recording this having a conversation of exactly how we were planning our training and our nutrition.
That's funny. I didn't even realize that.
With traveling. So we were just having a conversation. We're leaving for the Arnold Classic on Thursday afternoon. Me and Anthony were just discussing when we're getting our training in, what we're going to do with our diets and stuff like that. So yeah, this will help you guys. And like I said, this is stuff that we have a conversation about on our own time.
Yeah, that's so funny. I just realized that too, that we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
We were planning it out.
Yeah.
We were doing the advice we're going to give everyone in this podcast today.
Yeah, because we were talking about actually how we're going to plan our next training routines, because we should fill everybody in on what's going on with that. But so for this week, we're planning out our training schedules, and that's going to fall in line with the Arnold Classic weekend. So we will be traveling Thursday, coming back Sunday. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that we have to organize and schedule training a little bit differently and make sure we fit it in. But like everything else we do, we will fit it in.
Yeah, you have to. You know, I always tell people this now. So fitness is like brushing your teeth. You know, you got to fit fitness into your life every day, no matter what. You know, so if you brush your teeth every day, right, Big Pete?
Yes.
I hope so.
At least once every day.
Yeah. And what happens if you don't brush your teeth?
Then you get some nasty breath, you get some cavities, and you get all the bad stuff that you don't want. If you don't maintain it, the bad stuff starts to happen.
Exactly, your teeth right away. So the same thing with fitness. You have to do some type of fitness every day, whether that's diet, whether that's exercise. You know, you have to fit that in every day. Otherwise, your body's going to rot away. And same thing, otherwise, you know, you'll get fat, you have halitosis, and no one want to talk to you.
Yeah, that's not good, guys. It's all about maintenance. And, you know, same thing with nutrition as well. You can't just throw that out of the window. A lot of times that's the case with people when they travel. I'm sure people listening to this right now, maybe you are going to the Arnold Classic. Maybe you have a vacation coming up or something like that. And people might have the idea, okay, I'm going away for the weekend. It's just the weekend. Let me just forget about the diet. I'll be all right for one weekend. That's not the case, especially if you do stuff on an ongoing basis. That adds up. That's part of your lifestyle. I mean, me and Anthony don't travel too often, but we travel often enough where if every time we went away, we didn't train or we didn't diet, it would add up and our progress wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil too much of the beans for later in this podcast, so we'll come back to that. So, guys, I want to talk about the Arnold Classic. So, for those of you listening to this, if you are traveling to the Arnold Classic, which is the annual Arnold's Fitness Convention down in Bumblefuck, Ohio, it's in Columbus, Ohio. It's just basically how I described it to people is like the car show for bodybuilding and fitness, basically. It's all different vendors and all different booths, and all your favorite fitness people are going to be there. And me and my co-host here, we usually go every year. So we're going to be down there. If you guys haven't already joined our Facebook group, it's New York Muscle Radio. Just search for that in our Facebook group. Join that group, and we'll be giving out details, or even like our Facebook page. I'm sure we'll put the same post up twice. But, you know, we're going to set up a meetup at some point, somewhere along the lines as far as the gym goes. I would like to do something, maybe going out to eat. I don't know, whatever. We'll plan it out as we go. But so make sure you're either like our Facebook page, facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio. Join our Facebook group, New York Muscle Radio, or hit us up on Instagram. I'm at AB Fitness and Pete's at Jacked Fitness. And unfortunately, guys and girls, Laura Bevs won't be there. So we've gotten some messages about that. She will not be attending the Arnold Classic this year, unfortunately.
But if you guys want more of Laura Bevs, you can definitely catch her on the Bikini and Barbell Show if you are not already.
Yeah, exactly. Laura's got some audience already, man. They're feisty to defend her.
Yeah, I know. I told her this on the podcast. I think our listeners now are starting to like her more than us.
You know what it is? And this is actually funny. It's fitting. I don't know if you know this already. So I happened to come across, I came across something somewhere that's asked about, can anyone recommend good, legitimate nutrition podcasts? So, of course, I jumped in and I said New York Muscle Radio. And someone else commented, one of our loyal listeners, I believe it was Melina. She commented and said, like, yeah, they're great, blah, blah, blah. Some guy wrote in, yeah, but they're not knowledgeable. So I just basically call us idiots. So I just basically want to address that for a second. And I want to kind of explain ourselves here. So I do have an extensive background in fitness, more than a lot of other people out there. We've been doing this for so long, in the trenches type stuff. We're not scientists. We don't wear the white robes, and we don't sit and study rats all day. We've literally been in the trenches doing this. And when you're good at what you do in fitness, you know how to talk to people about it, business-wise. So I'm a personal trainer. This is my business, to take the science part of it and make it applicable to everybody. So me and Pete, when we talk, we both get this concept. We talk to you guys in normal terms. Because who wants to hear the glycogen of the muscle and this and that? Who wants to hear all that stuff? And when I want to make this as simple as possible for everybody, I want to get to the point. A lot of these guys, when they talk and they sound smart. But if you actually listen to what they're saying, they're not saying anything different than us.
Or they're not saying anything at all. That's another common thing. Our industry is kind of built on two separate categories. Flashiness, showing abs, showing pictures of muscles and stuff like that without real knowledge. And then you get the information overload. And when I say information overload, it's basically a bunch of textbook stuff reiterated with no real application, and it just sounds flashy. So they go for visual flash or verbal flash, I guess you could say. And that's a problem on both ends, because you don't have what we try and do. And what we try and do is apply that to the average person, which is, like you're saying, is, we kind of try to speak to our audience in the terms that they'll understand it. So the same way I talk to Anthony about burning fat, building muscle, we talk about it on the podcast so that the average listener can understand it the same way me and Anthony can understand it, because we're normal guys. We've done this for a long time. We've helped normal people, and they've gotten results in using our information. So the best way that we put it out there is the way that we think the average person can relate to it. So hopefully, and our objective is this, when we put this stuff out there, people apply it. They don't just listen to it for entertainment purposes, because we could entertain you with weird words, big words, and crazy facts. But that's not going to help you guys. So what we try and put out there is stuff that actually helps you guys.
Yeah, that literally, you could listen to one of our podcasts and take away right away from the episode. Like a snap of the finger, you could say, okay, I'm going to start doing this today, and I'm going to get this result. That's our goal when we do this. We don't, like Pete said, we're not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to impress Lane Norton. I'm not trying to impress the big scientists of the industry. I'm not trying to impress them. I'm trying to talk to you listening to this. I want you to understand. I want to make it so that you can explain this to your mother, your sister, your brother, anyone else. So that's our goal. So yes, maybe it's our New York accents that make us sound douchey and dumb, but we are far from douchey and dumb. And you can even ask any of our clients who we've ever worked with. We are very knowledgeable. So I just wanted to, the guy never attacked us. I mean, that's what just basically said we're dumb, but I just wanted to reiterate that to you guys, that we don't try to talk to you in science terms. We're not trying to show off to you guys. We're just trying to be two normal guys who want to explain this to you so you could explain it to someone else. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. I never thought it was a big thing. And, to be honest with you, I don't really even think that we need to address that. I think the people that do listen to us on a regular basis, they understand it, and that's why they listen to us. So, you know why I wanted to address it? And this shit grinds my gears, because everybody's so brainwashed. It's so annoying. And the reason why I wanted to address it is because there's so many people who rather listen to the scientific way, think they're going to actually learn something, and not learn anything. Yesterday, for instance, I was taking a course online, and that will remain nameless, a fitness course, quote unquote, and I literally videotaped 30 seconds of it and sent it to Big Pete. Pete, what was said during that 30 seconds? Not one word. I mean,
a
bunch of words,
whole bunch of scientific words.
Yeah, but that meant absolutely nothing. Yeah,
exactly. So if you want us to talk to you guys like that, we absolutely can, but we won't, because we don't want that for this podcast. We want this to be fun. I mean, listen, in all honesty, I mean, we're trying to lose fat, build muscle, get stronger. You know, who gives a fuck about the science end of it? Not that who gives a fuck. We understand it, and we're just trying to teach you guys how to do it without having to understand that stuff. If you want to learn that stuff, great, go take a class.
Yeah.
It's not that.
You know what it is, too? Because we're not trying to turn you guys into, like, walking infomercials like some people are. You know, they have all this information, but they don't apply it. They're not real people. They're not, you know, they're not a real person. They just spit out information. And sometimes you look at somebody who's giving out all this advice on building muscle, burning fat. They look like an average person who never even did it, you know, but they can reiterate it as if they are the textbook. And we don't want to turn you guys into that. We want to turn you guys into the people that look the role, who actually have been in the trenches, put on that muscle, burn that fat. And if you want to help other people do it, you can do it too.
What about that coach who put out that that stupid post about lateral raises? You have to do high rep lateral raises. Use only scientific words, and his delts look like my daughter's.
Oh yeah. I was for a second I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, it's ridiculous, and unfortunately that stuff gets a little bit of gets a little traction in this industry. I don't know how, but it's just the way it is. So hopefully the right information gets to the right people who want to listen to it. You know. Yeah,
and guys, if you think we're dumb, hit that unsubscribe button because we're not for you. All right, let's move on to the quote of the day, big guy. I'm excited about this one. Another one from Pumping Iron, but this is from the making of Pumping Iron, which not many people have actually listened to or watched or whatever. So, guys, if you didn't watch this making of Pumping Iron, you have to. But this is like one of the more memorable lines from it that we're going to talk about today.
One of the most common questions I also get is, did we take steroids? Because
steroids.
Now, of course, drugs is such a big issue in sports. And the answer is yes. It was just in the beginning stage because bodybuilders in those days just experimented with it. But it was not illegal. We talked about it very openly. I mean, anyone that was asked, is you take steroids? Yeah, I take 3 Dianabol a day. Or someone else would say, I would take this, and that. It was not an illegal thing. Now, after it became a big problem, then our federation said, okay, bodybuilders ought not to take steroids, and there will be testing done, surprise testing done. You could be called at any given time. And within 2 days, you have to do a test, so you can't get rid of the whole thing out of your system or anything like that. So that's what's going on right now. The bodybuilders are tested continuously.
Well, someone's losing their job over that.
Yeah.
Someone's losing their job over that. There's no way any of those guys are not natural by any means. But the reason why I like this quote was because a lot of people always ask me that, was Arnold on steroids? Well, that has to be steroids, right? And I think the reason why a lot of people question that is because when they think of bodybuilder, they think of the guys like Phil Heath, Ronnie Coleman, big monstrous guys, muscle on top of muscle. That's what they think of when they hear steroids. But when you see someone like Arnold, it almost looks attainable to these days' standards.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, but yeah, for today's standards, yeah, they almost look like they're natural, because we do have some naturals today walking, or some quote unquote claiming naturals that walk around looking like the guys back from the 70s.
Yeah, that's the key word right there, claiming.
Yeah, just because somebody claims it doesn't mean it's true. That just means they claim it. And another thing, not to go off on a tangent, but there's a difference between being able to pass a drug test and actually being drug free. Just for anybody who doesn't know that.
Well, what's the difference? I know the difference, but I wanted to see what your definition is.
Well, so people just sometimes will say, okay, this person competes in this organization, and this organization drug tests, so he's natural. Natural, by definition, I guess there's a loose definition. It means you don't take anything. If you're lifetime natural, you've never taken anything. But if you compete in an organization and they drug test, that doesn't mean that the person's natural. It just means that they were able to pass the drug test through whatever means they have to do. If they have to stop taking the drugs early enough so that it doesn't show up in the test, or if they take the right drugs that'll not show up in the test, or the right timing of everything so it doesn't show up, that just means they were able to pass a drug test. They compete in a drug tested organization, but it doesn't mean they're lifetime natural. So there is a difference between somebody who competes in a drug tested organization and someone who's actually lifetime. The Olympics are drug tested. Doesn't mean everybody competing in the Olympics are lifetime drug free or natural. In fact, most of them aren't. They just pass drug tests.
This is why, there's so many guys who won different sports. Forget bodybuilding and fitness for a second, but so many guys who won sports who got caught failing a drug test. And this is this is just so annoying. I just wish they would legalize it already. If you have guys cheating and using it anyway and hurting themselves, Just legalize it and leave it standard across the board. Kind of like what Arnold said, it was just like another thing. You take 3 Dianabol a day. That's exactly what he said. So everybody took the same thing. So it kind of leveled that playing field out. It made, not to say that steroids are good or bad. That's neither here nor there. But think about it for a second. If all football players were allowed to take testosterone and they were allowed to go to the doctor and get it and have the doctor do it for them, it would level everything out. I'm pretty sure you would have a lot more healthier athletes. You wouldn't have the guys dying randomly like how they are. You'd eliminate all that other crazy stuff.
Yeah. There's a pro and a con to it, and
obviously the con, you don't want the kids to grow up having to take steroids, but at the same time, it's like steroids are bad, quote unquote. But then you could drink alcohol when you turn 21 or smoke cigarettes at 18. What's the difference between the two? I don't understand what the.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's
what's the real con? I don't get I get the con.
Well, yeah, there's cons to it. I mean, when you compare it to something like that, I mean, everybody has their own opinion on it, obviously.
How many kids? And if you want to talk about the kids, how many kids drink? When was the first time you drank, man? I'm pretty sure it wasn't your 21st birthday.
No, I was like 14, 15.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like it's not. You know what I mean? I mean, I know alcohol is different from steroid use, but I don't know. I just wish they would kind of level it out because it would just make everything easier. Then you would have people just saying, okay, I'm taking 3 Dianabol a day, like Arnold said. It would just level everything out. And you wouldn't have...
Yeah, but the problem would be, too, is that then you'd get the guy who say, okay, well, he takes 3 Dianabol a day. I'm going to take 10 Dianabol a day. You know what I mean? But they do that
now with supplements anyway.
Yeah.
Now the whole thing out is with the SARMs. You take this SARM, that SARM, stack this and this. Meanwhile, there's probably not even SARMs.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is people are going to do what they want to do regardless of rules. The only difference between the rule is they have to be quiet about it and they have to not get caught. That's more or less what it is. It's the same thing. People are going to do it. It's like the same thing. Marijuana is the amount of people that smoke marijuana where it's legal and illegal is really no different. It's just you have to obtain it legally or illegally. So the same thing with drugs and sports. I don't think making drugs in sports legal is going to cause people to take more drugs. I don't think it's going to take them. It's going to make them take less drugs. The same amount of people doing it legally or illegally are still going to do it. They're just going to have a different means of doing it.
Exactly. My definition of natural versus not natural is, for me, it's obviously not taking any supplement, drug, whatever that's illegal. That's my definition of it. I don't want to take anything illegal, and anything that's banned by the organization that I compete in. So that's, I guess, my definition of it. I don't know if that's the right definition, but that's my definition of it.
Okay, like I said, everyone's going to have everyone. You could talk to somebody who's a vegan and say, if you take protein powder, you're not natural or something like that. Everyone's got a different opinion though. If you take creatine, it's not you took something from a bottle, it wasn't natural. Everyone's got a different opinion. So, the whole this guy's natural, this guy's not natural. I think it's a stupid argument, to be honest with you. And just, if you're curious if people take drugs or they don't, at the top of every single sport, there's drugs. That's common knowledge. And if you don't understand that, you should probably look into it a little bit more, because you'll realize that at the top of athletics is the Olympics, and it's all run on drugs. And it's a drug tested sport. The Olympic Games are all drug tested, but doesn't mean it's not used.
I love when I sit down with people and they're like, yeah, man, I just got creatine. It's like, what it's going to do? Like, it's a drug, You ever talk to anyone like that?
Yeah, when I was like 14 years old, I thought the same thing.
People still think that, man.
No, but I'm saying, like, if I was 14 and I got a bottle of creatine, I was like, I can't wait to see what this does. I'm like,
did we talk about Track on the podcast or no? Track?
No, we didn't. That was just me and you, and that was a very true conversation. It was not. That
was podcast worthy conversation. We were actually talking about some of the supplements that we used when we were younger.
Yeah.
That we thought were going to give us all these great gains, and Pete actually said one of the supplements that he took that really worked for him was that MHP Track.
Yeah, it was. We've spoken about this on the podcast before. When I first started, I used to do the whole thing that all the kids used to do. We go into GNC and just find the new product that's going to get you the next level result. So you would kind of cycle through all of them. I'd take this product this month, the next one this month. But they're all kind of like a blur now, because none of them really did anything, which is what most of them do. It's very true. But it's funny because I do have this one experience where I did take MHP's Track, which was an NO2 product. Basically, it's just a pump product. That's what an NO2 product does. But it was the first time I'd taken an NO2 product, and it was crazy because I remember still to this day, it gave me such crazy pumps that I actually would describe it as something like being on a on a drug. And it sounds like I'm severely overhyping it now. And the truth is, if I were to take it today, it would definitely not produce those same results. But just the timing of when I took it, when I was kind of still in my newbie phases of training and gaining at that time, I was pretty much growing from whatever it was I would do. Throwing in a little NO2 product, that just happened to be the one I took at that time. I got these crazy pumps. And I remember even taking it on days I didn't go to the gym because apparently that was the advice I had gotten, to just take it every single day. I was taking NO2 products, walking around, and I felt like I had a pump 24/7. So it's funny because I remember it so vividly that it was one of those things where I took a product and I actually believed it was doing some type of, I was getting some type of crazy results from it. And I was never able to duplicate that. I remember buying an additional bottle after that or months later trying it again, and I never got the same results simply because I took it at the time when I was getting those crazy newbie gains on top of it.
It was funny, though. I thought that was funny because I took that same bottle that you took, and I got zero from it. But the reason why I brought that up was because today I actually sat down with a new woman who was interested in personal training, and she actually told me, and I was kind of taken back by that she actually has used creatine. Like, she has it still in the house. I was like, whoa. Like, I wasn't expecting a normal average person who doesn't know anything about fitness to actually, she was trying to build muscle. So I guess she went to GNC and they sold her creatine. But usually, creatine in women, like, does not mix.
I remember, actually, it's funny too, because this is going back to I was probably in the store buying track when I heard this conversation. But I remember being like 14, 15 years old or however old I was when I was buying that. And the guy in GNC was actually trying to sell a woman in GNC some type of creatine product. I'm not sure exactly what it was. And she looked at him and she's like, no, like, I don't want to be like a big fat bodybuilder. Like, that was her exact words, And he's like, no, like, it doesn't do that, So yeah, women generally, they'll have that association with creatine and stuff like that. And you and I both know that that's not the case with what it does. I mean, if only you could take something in GNC that would transform a woman into a big fat bodybuilder, I'm willing to bet it would not be in GNC.
Yeah, that's for sure. It would be in CNG, the underground store.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the trending fitness topics. I'm excited about these topics. So I guess since we're on the thing of Arnold and he was the quote of the day again, I'll start with this one. So I came across an article that talks about Arnold recently sold his stock in Muscle Farm, which is a supplement company that he co-owned. Mm-hmm. And I loved when he did that because then he came out with his whole Arnold line of his products, and he came out with the whole thing of him talking about how he used to train, and they released unseen footage of pumping iron. It was great. I love that part of it.
Yeah.
But Muscle Farm actually got busted for spiking their products. So their products weren't legit.
Right? Amino spiking. Yeah.
So that definitely was a big thing. But anyway, Arnold actually sold his share off, and he lost a ton of money on it.
Did he?
Ton. I have the article. I don't want to click it because then you're gonna I'm gonna lose service here and you're gonna break up, and I don't want to do that. But he lost a ton of money. It was like a lot of money that he lost, selling Muscle Farm. Because Muscle Farm is a publicly traded company. Did you know that?
I think I did, actually. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a tremendous business opportunity for him, but that amino spiking thing had to set him back extreme.
He should have just did his own.
Yeah,
He should have just did his own line. I don't understand why he still doesn't. Maybe it's in the works. Maybe he doesn't care, but I could see him making a ton of money if it's his name, man. Like Weeder did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, because it was Muscle Farm, even though he did his own thing with them, it never was as enticing, I think, for somebody to purchase the product because it wasn't necessarily his. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
It would have definitely been different if it was called Arnold
pumping iron.
Yeah, something. I think it would be really cool.
Dude, you know how many of the Muscle Farm bottles I wanted to buy and just save them because they had Arnold all over them, like the posters and shit like that? I didn't, but
yeah,
if it would have been his line, it would have been really cool. I don't know why he doesn't do that. I guess maybe just not worth his time.
Probably not. I mean, I would assume he's a smart guy. If it was, I think he would jump on it.
All right, and the other thing that I came across, which I thought was really, really funny, so they have this new medical procedure, swallowing a balloon for weight loss.
Oh my god!
So it's like a special kind of balloon that you swallow, and it inflates in your stomach and keeps your stomach full. One woman claims that she did this and she lost 40 pounds, and now this is FDA approved. I read this on Time, the magazine Time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is like approved, FDA approved of this. This is what the shit I'm talking about. Like, so people gotta swallow a balloon to lose weight.
Yeah, I know a non-medical alternative to losing 40 pounds. It's called stop
Cracking
eating
the
so
flexible
much.
dieting code.
Yeah.
Cracking the. Do you hear about the new like lip gloss that like some stuff you put on your lips to help you lose weight?
No, I didn't hear that either.
Called Crazy Glue.
Yeah, exactly. Just stop eating, guys. You'll lose weight pretty fast.
Swallowing a balloon. Can you imagine that?
People will do ridiculous things to get shortcut results. It's funny because it's like you'll do a ridiculous thing like swallow a balloon to lose weight, but you won't actually just diet. You know, it boggles my mind sometimes. It's like, at least diet first and then swallow the balloon if it doesn't work. But people won't even bother with the diet first.
Yeah,
and the diet will. The thing is, I'll tell you, okay, listen, you really want to swallow the balloon? Try this diet first. If it doesn't work, swallow the balloon, and the diet will work. You'll never end up swallowing the balloon, but people don't try the diet. They go right for the balloon.
Yeah, because everybody wants a magic pill. I mean, you can't blame everybody. I mean, I've looked for the magic pill for so long, and you have too.
Yeah, and then, you find out that the magic pill is actually the
hard work,
the slow, steady pace. But you'll get what you're actually searching for, because you'll spin your wheels with the magic pills. You'll spin your wheels swallowing balloons, getting surgeries, doing detox teas, and you'll do that for 2 or 3 years, and you still won't lose weight. And then you're like, all right, shit, now I got to go back to actually dieting, and it'll take you 6 months. When you could have did the 6 months right off the bat, and 3 years down the line, oh yeah, I got lean 3 years ago, and I'm still lean. Rather than I've been trying to get lean, spending all this money spinning my wheels for 3 years.
It still amazes me that people think that cleanses and detoxes actually work.
People will believe anything. You know what it is? People will rationalize anything they want. So if they need to find a reason that something works or doesn't work, they'll find it out of all the other reasons why it does work or why it doesn't work. They'll find the one little example of where it did work, and they'll ignore the thousands of examples where it didn't work. Because that's what they're looking for. You'll find what you're looking for.
Guys, so stop looking for those quick fixes, as they don't exist. What are you doing over there, man? You look distracted.
I am distracted. I'm really hot right now, actually. I'm wearing a hoodie. I'm wearing a hoodie, and I got a t-shirt on, and it's a little warm. It's actually been pretty warm in New York. Friday, it was like 60-something degrees.
Yeah. Yesterday was 67 or something like that.
I had to turn the heat down in my house for like 2 days straight. It was off. My house was warm, but I'm getting hot right now. I'm getting so hot talking about like these stupid medical procedures and stuff like that. It actually kind of annoys me, so I'm starting to sweat.
Don't swallow a balloon, man. You'll lose 40 pounds.
Yeah, I went out for all-you-can-eat sushi last night. I feel like I swallowed a balloon, that's for sure.
Oh, that'll do that to you, man.
Yeah, but it was good tasty at the time.
You know what it is? Sushi always sounds really good, especially all-you-can-eat sushi. It sounds really good at the moment.
Yeah, until you
leave.
Then
when you have, you're like, oh, that was such a mistake.
Yeah. Sushi is great, though, but yeah, it's one of those things that's probably, as far as I think every single person I've ever spoken to, that's probably the hardest food that if you were to go out and try and track or stay on your diet with, that is probably the most difficult, especially if you're going to a place where it's all you can eat. 9 times out of 10, everyone says, okay, I'm going to be good. I'm going to track. I'm going to stay within my numbers. I'm going to make it fit in. Then they come back and they report the next day, yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah, because that's hard to. Me and you did it when we literally counted the rolls. We made little marks on the paper whenever we had a roll.
And you know what was the funny thing about that day? Me and Anthony was so hungry that day.
That was the day we were on the Hollywood Life podcast.
Yeah.
And we got invited to go to the city and go into their studio and record with them.
Yeah. So we had a timing schedule issue that day. So like it took us forever to get to the city, then to get back. And we had to eat when we got back. So we went so many hours without eating that we were starving. And we said we're going to make it fit into our macros. So we were going to count off how many we're eating, but it was all you can eat. So we ordered 7 or 8 rolls because we were hungry. And then we started finishing them and we ordered another 7. We had them bring out double. Then we realized after we finished the first 7 or 8, we sat there and we're like, shit, we checked off 30 pieces each or whatever it is. We were so full. And you can't, if you go off for all you can eat sushi, you can't leave that sushi. You got to finish it. They get mad and then they'll make you pay. And we happen to be at a place that we like to eat regularly. So we're sitting there looking at each other like, shit, now it's time to just finish these sushi rolls. So that was an example of...
Yeah, that was not a fun day.
Sushi going out of control, which is very, very easy if you guys go to all-you-can-eat sushi. So my recommendation for you guys, if you're eating sushi and trying to fit it into your macros, don't go for all-you-can-eat sushi. I've never seen that actually work out in your favor. Even if you want to intermittent fast and fit those in for the whole day, I've still seen it go overboard.
I've actually done that. I fasted till like 2 in the afternoon and then went straight to sushi.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, but I was so full the rest of the day.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
consume my calories. No way.
It's gonna throw you off. It's very, very hard. So all you can eat is not a good recipe for fitting it into your macros. That's for sure.
But all you can eat sushi is the best way to eat sushi, though. I don't
agree.
understand how some people just go out and get. So like if I go to hibachi, you know what hibachi is, obviously.
Yeah.
I love hibachi. My wife loves hibachi. So if we go to hibachi, I usually get like 1 or 2 rolls to have as like a quote unquote appetizer. But like just to go, oh, I'm gonna get sushi for lunch and have like 2 rolls. To me, that's like a waste. I'm still hungry.
Yeah, the only time I do that is if I'm not going out to eat sushi and I kind of want sushi with it. So like if I go to hibachi and I want to get my yeah. That's the only time I'll do that. But I'll never purposely go out with the intent to get sushi and just get 1 roll.
Dude, maybe we should do that for the Arnold Classic. I wonder if there's an all-you-can-eat sushi place down in Ohio. I don't know how good the sushi would be, but
I'm sure there'll be a sushi place. Yeah.
All-you-can-eat though? All-you-can-eat, they're hard to find.
I'm sure if we look hard enough, we'll find it.
That would be cool if we get all the New York Muscle Radio listeners to come.
I'm down. I mean, it doesn't have to be sushi. It could be anywhere.
But I'm down for sushi too. Well, listen, if you guys are from Ohio or listen to us and you're going to Ohio and you guys are going out to eat somewhere, let's meet up. Let's do this. So hit us up on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio, facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio, or just hit us up on Instagram, send us an email, telegram us, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you get in touch with us by the Arnold. We want to hang out with you guys. We want to meet you guys. And listen, we're the 2 coolest dudes you'll ever meet. We're the cool kids on the campus. So, we definitely want to hang out with you. We're not afraid to talk to people. We're not going to be dicks to you guys.
And we're not going to make you pay $10 for an autograph or a picture, guys.
Like Lou Ferrigno does to you.
Yeah. So, we'll keep everybody updated on social media, too, when we go out. We'll use it like Twitter. Guys, going for sushi. Just left for sushi.
Yeah, who wants to come?
But no,
eating sushi.
Exactly. We'll keep you guys updated. So in case you guys haven't got in touch with us and you are in the area and you do want to meet up for food or to work out, we'll let you guys know where we're going to be training. But we're probably not going to know those details till kind of last minute. So just be on the lookout for that. Which
is kind of bad on our part. We should really plan that out more.
Yeah, but that's the way we do things, and
true.
It's. We like to have fun when we go too, so I don't like to make anything too structured because, we might decide last minute, all right, we're going to get a training session in here, then we're going to go eat here, but we'll let everybody know that that's what we're going to do in case they want to come along.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Fitness Business Corner. So this segment is the new addition to the podcast, and because we had so many questions regarding fitness business, we figured we might as well make this a regular portion of the podcast. In this segment, we're going to go over anything to help the fitness professional grow and expand their business. Again, if you're interested in growing your fitness business, head on over to newyorkmuscleradio.com/business. Today's topic, wholesale products to clients. So I think this is so important. I call this having a house brand. If you're a personal trainer, an aerobics instructor, you have your own studio, you're a yoga teacher, I don't know, whatever kind of fitness professional you are, where you actually see people in person, it's so important for you to have a house brand, whether that's supplements, whether that's, I mentioned this before on the podcast that I did with how to make 6 figures as a personal trainer, even like a food scale, finding certain items that your clients are gonna have to buy anyway and make them have to get it through you. It's such an easy way to add revenue to your bottom line. It's ridiculous. So one of the things I do with my personal training clients is because I have my own facility, I sell gloves, very cheap gloves. I get them online, I find them and I wholesale them, and it's an easy upsell for me because a lot of people use gloves and they want to use gloves. So I use the gloves, I sell the gloves, and I make some extra money doing it, not having to do anything. So it's a good way, like I said, to add revenue to the bottom line. New York Muscle Radio, we have our straps. I could use those. I could sell those to clients. I could, for those of you listening to that, we offer these things to you from us because we bought these things for us and we've improved them for us. So we want to offer that to you. But it's so important because it does add bottom line to your revenue.
Yeah, and this is something people have been doing for years, especially with supplements too. You have personal trainers. You even have gyms that do this as well. There's plenty of times.
I've never seen a gym with their own house brand, which is dumb, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times actually, and they might not have it under the same name as the gym, but it might be a brand that the gym actually private labels. I've seen that before too. You don't necessarily have to. It will work out the same way, but if you're in a gym, people are going to want to buy protein powder. If you're a personal trainer in a gym and you have clients that you are writing diets for, and part of it is having a protein requirement. And some people say, oh, well, what should I do? I mean, how many times has a client asked you, what protein do you recommend? You know, like if I'm going to go get protein powder from GNC, which one do I buy? If you're a trainer, buy my protein. You know, these clients are going to need it anyway, so you're helping them do what they're going to get anyway, and it works well for everybody. So if you're not thinking in a business sense, you know, then you're definitely selling yourself short. But, you know, there's people that take this way too far. You don't want to turn into the typical supplement salesman and there are supplement salesmen disguising themselves as trainers or coaches. When you sign up for coaching with them, they'll write you a diet. Their diet is like 90% supplements. And all these supplements are stuff that you don't even need. But you know what? That's putting more money in their pocket. So you're just hiring them to spend more money. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to do that. The goal is to actually help people, because then what happens is they're going to spend money on your products, your services, or any other things that you are selling. They're going to get the results, and then they're going to want more. They're going to want to keep doing what they're doing. They want to keep working with you. You'll get more money that way. If you go the route of just being a supplement salesman and then you write them one diet one time and it's 90% supplements and they spend all this money, they don't get results, they're not going to re-sign with you. They're not going to spend more money. So then you're going to have to go on to the next client. So you got to think about it in a long-term sense. But, you know, whenever you help people, you can bet that you will see a return on that. So that's always the goal number one.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And again, like I said, they're going to buy it anyway. So they might as well buy it from you, a source that they trust. And this is why when we do any of our products, the supplements that we have on New York Muscle Radio, we do extensive testing with them, because we want to make sure, because again, you know, if we're selling a protein powder, we're selling a branched chain amino acid, whatever product that we sell on New York Muscle Radio, caffeine, we want to make sure that it has exactly in it, because we use it. It's our product.
Exactly.
Why would I buy a product, sell it to you guys, and buy something else? That would be stupid. So
yeah.
You know, we go through vigorous amounts of testing for us, and we offer that to you as well. So this is why I do it, because I'm going to buy it anyway for myself. I might as well offer it to people that listen to me and people who ask me. People ask me all the time, what supplements do I recommend? What protein do I recommend? Well, instead of giving someone else the business, why don't I give it to myself?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't use anything that I didn't already know was legitimate and what's in it. And unfortunately, a lot of times the only way you really know that is if you're the one behind it, you know, and you actually are able to get the certificate of analysis, you know what's in this stuff. So I actually only feel 100% trustworthy when I know what's in it. I'm not going to take somebody else's word for it unless I could see it. And, you know, that's a big part of why I feel comfortable with the stuff that we have and recommending it to other people too, because I take it myself personally. I never recommend something to somebody that I don't personally take myself and can vouch for.
Exactly.
I never like to be the person that says, oh, I heard this was good, you should take it. If I never took it, I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, my friend. All right. Let's move on to the listener question of the day. Guys, if you have a question you'd like us to answer, you could submit it on our website, newyorkmuscleradio.com/listener question, or call your question in, 508-687-2534. I have a huge list of questions that I get from people that are built up, and I literally go in order from the moment I get them. If you want to jump the list, call in, 508-687-2534. So when you call it in, you jump the whole list. So if you've asked a question before and I haven't got to it yet, it's because it's on a list. If you call that same question in, or someone listening to this, you want to get ahead of the line, call your question in, and we'll answer it right away. All right, so today's question's from Jason T. He says, can you guys talk about flexing and the mind-muscle connection that it requires? When I flex my lats, my chest engages too. How do you make sure that you are isolating the muscles you are trying to engage? I am also curious about how flexing can help activate muscles, and does it possibly help with hypertrophy? As he's making fun of the way I say hypertrophy. But again, I like making light of these scientific words that we were called idiots for in the past. So hypertrophy.
That's a really good question, actually. It's a little bit different.
It is a good question.
The first thing I want to address is isolating a muscle is something that you do definitely want to get. You want to get a good mind-muscle connection to focusing on flexing just the targeted muscles that you are training. But he also needs to know that there are certain muscles that work synergistically. Chest and back are one of them. You know, whenever you're working the chest muscles, if you're flexing a chest muscle, the lat muscles or the back muscles are also working synergistically. So in that sense, when you do, let's say, a front lat spread, your chest is going to be flexing as well. You are going to be engaging chest as well. So in certain movements or motions, you can't necessarily just isolate one muscle group. So you can isolate the lats by doing, let's say, a pullover movement with a cable. But if you're doing some type of pressing movement where you're engaging your lats, your pecs are also going to be engaged as well. So there is a synergistic thing to it. But as far as training, the biggest thing you want to do is, especially if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a powerlifter, it's a different story. You actually want to engage those lats when you're pressing and vice versa. But if you're a bodybuilder and your goal is to isolate those muscles and build bigger muscles, you're going to want to build up that mind-muscle connection. And I'd say the biggest thing is not necessarily just flexing, but doing lots of very hard contractions with even light weights to get the blood flow in that muscle, because then once you could feel what it takes to get blood in the muscle, it's very easy for you to contract those muscles when you're not using weights. So I think, at least for me, I picked up my muscle connection very, very easily when I first started training, because initially when I went in the gym, the first thing I ever did was did very, very light weights to try to target the muscles that I wanted to train, to see what it actually felt like to get that pump. Because I actually heard Arnold talking about pumping and what the pump felt like before I even ever went to the gym. So I always found it very interesting when I first went in. And I think for anybody who can't feel a target muscle when they train, go in the gym with the intention of using a very, very light weight and just getting a pump. And don't even think about it as lifting weight to build muscle. Think about, okay, I want to move this weight to get as much blood into this muscle as possible. And once you do that, you'll realize how easy it is to actually contract that muscle, and you'll be able to do it with heavier weights. So that's actually a skill if you don't have it, because I can contract muscle and get a good pump with 80-pound dumbbells, or I could do it with 5-pound dumbbells, you know? But if you don't know how to do it with the 5-pound dumbbells, you're not going to be able to do it with 80.
Yeah. One of the things I would recommend too, when I was doing bodybuilding, I would pose every day for 10 to 15 minutes every day, just to practice, being on stage and whatnot. But I really did feel like that helped my mind-muscle connection a lot, because you're learning how to, in a pose, you're obviously learning how to flex those muscles. So I would recommend trying to do that at least 2 to 3 times a week, and that'll definitely help improve your mind-muscle connection. Go through the poses, hit certain poses. If you're trying to bring up your chest, go through side chest, poses, just to and kind of figure out the angles that you need to be at. Because sometimes your chest is you're making progress in a certain area, but you just don't know how to show that area off also. Mm-hmm. So practicing how to pose will help bring that out. Remember, bodybuilding and in that avenue of it is all an illusion. So you're trying to look bigger. So maybe you have to just try to take pictures in better lighting, try to learn how to pose so you look better. I mean, one of the things that Arnold always talked about was hiding away his weak points and showing off his strong muscles. Same thing here. So I would definitely recommend doing that 2 to 3 times a week. That would definitely help you build up that mind-muscle connection.
Yeah, agree 100%.
Dude, we forgot to completely talk about it, what happened yesterday. I went for new maxes.
I mentioned that in the beginning, and then we actually got sidetracked, because when I talked about we were planning out the next training cycle and we had to talk about that, that's because we had to talk about what actually happened. So, yeah, we completed the first, 12 weeks now?
12 weeks.
12 weeks of the training, and then you had your test week, and so now we got to plan the next 12 weeks out. So, yeah, so yesterday was the 12-week mock meet, and so you hit PRs on what, squat and deadlift, right?
Correct.
Very good. So 2 out of 3, and we talk about this a lot. Unfortunately, not every single cycle you're going to hit all 3. You're not going to hit PRs on all 3 every single time, but I'd say 2 out of 3, and especially your deadlift has been probably the hardest out of all 3 of them for you to improve on, and hitting a PR on that's definitely a good news, because you experiment with something new this training cycle with deadlifts as well, so obviously it paid off, right?
Yeah, and I didn't take my own advice, because I tried something new where I tried using deadlift with a little lower frequency, but I changed my form up. So I went back to conventional, got my back strong in conventional, worked my deadlift back up to 551, I think I did at the last meet, which was it's definitely a PR for conventional. And then I kind of went back to sumo. The reason why I stopped doing sumo to begin with was because I hurt my back doing sumo. Actually, I don't know if it was from sumo, but anyway, I hurt my back. So I went to conventional because it wasn't bothering my back. And then I kind of shifted back to sumo, but definitely a more narrower sumo.
Yeah.
Sumo?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, so it's almost like
it's like a wide conventional.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a hybrid.
And I've been working on that form the past 4 weeks, and it really did pay off in dividends, because I only hit a 5-pound PR over lifetime in the sumo deadlift. So the most I've ever done was 573 in the meet. I did 575 in the gym with straps. And yesterday I did 580, no straps, sumo at home.
Right.
So this is good. I finally am going to get over 600 the next meet. I know it's coming. So I'm so excited about that. Finally.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
I probably could have hit
because
590 yesterday.
I was about to say, maybe if you plan the openers a little differently and you went right to, something like 590, it's possible you would have had it. But a PR is a PR, take that. But it's really good to note that it took you that long to kind of break that threshold, because a lot of people don't have patience for that. And I think it's a good message to show people that, look, especially you're approaching 600 pounds. It's not light weights. So if you're getting frustrated at like 300, it's understandable. But guys, if you're trying to eke out a few extra pounds on heavy weights, it takes that long, just to get 5 more pounds out of it.
Yeah, my squat, I squatted 550 yesterday, and that's a 10-pound PR in 12 weeks, so I'll take that too.
Yeah, your squat just seems to move up continuously. Like it really does. It's almost linear, the progress in your squat. You never really seem to hit a wall with the squat.
Knock wood.
And that's good, man. That's good. Benches, I think out of the 3 lifts from most naturals, bench is always the hardest to progress on, just simply because you don't have the leverages to move as the amount of weight that you can with a squat or a deadlift. So adding an extra 5 pounds to a bench is a lot harder than adding 5 pounds to a deadlift or 5 pounds to a squat. So every little PR, even a 1 pound PR, is a big improvement on something like a bench. Unless you're someone like Ellis McLean, who's benching 315 at like 5 years old.
Yeah, eating steak and potatoes. But it's weird, man.
Yeah.
With my bench, this is the problem, is that a couple meets ago, I hit 363 in a meet. The next meet after that, I bombed bench. I only hit like 340. Then the last meet that I did, I think I did 353 or something stupid like that. Some numbers, 357, some random number like that. So yesterday, I opened with 325, cake, 345, cake, and I went for 365, which I've done 365 before, touch and go. And like I said in the last meet, I did 363, paused. And for whatever reason yesterday, I couldn't get 365. So it's like you got to go back to the drawing board when it comes to benching again. For me, anyway.
Yeah, and I also, I told you this too. The squat, the PR you hit before you did bench, so you did it in consecutive order of powerlifting. You did your squat, then you did your bench, then you did your deadlift. That squat was a huge grinder. And you have to think too, comparing to a meet where you have that big chunk of time after the squat to the bench to rest, to eat a little more, to just get mentally prepared. You're not as fatigued going into that bench in a meet, and you just came off of a huge grinder, and then you might have maxed out on bench maybe like 15 minutes later, 20 minutes. That definitely had to impact your performance on the attempt as well. So to compare it to like a meet PR and a training or a gym PR, is a little bit different. So I'm not too worried to say that I don't think you could have hit 365 if you had more time in between those lifts.
Yeah, one of the things I do too, and I always take a lot of videos of myself lifting, but yesterday I took video and I noticed a lot of things that I could improve on. I kind of looked at myself from a different eye, and I'm going to change a lot of stuff with my bench. I'm going to move my hands in a little bit closer. I think my, a couple things were pointed out to me, and I think that my hips were a little bit off. So it's just like sometimes it's always the little stupid things that add up, It's always those little things, and those are those little things that make big differences in your performance, especially when you're trying to just get 5 more pounds on the bar. But I'm so excited for that deadlift PR, man. 600's coming. 600's been a goal of mine for years.
Yeah,
years.
I think it's easily going to happen very, very soon. I don't think that's anything you have to wait too much longer to be able to do.
Maybe if we do the New York Muscle Radio meetup at the Arnold Classic, maybe I'll just pull 600.
Yeah, just pull 6, man.
I'll just do it. Fuck it.
That's a good incentive. So, guys, if you want to see him pull 600, let's all meet up in the gym. Get this guy fired up. Tell him that he's not knowledgeable and that his podcast sucks. I guarantee you he'll pull 600.
All right, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with today's topic.
Are you a fitness professional who wants to enter the world of online coaching? Do you have a fitness product or program that you want to reach a massive audience? Do you want to grow your social media following so large that potential clients come to you? We specialize in helping fitness businesses thrive in the online world where there's an overabundance of so-called experts. We help you stand out. We will help you using the same principles we applied that grew our business from zero audience to over 500,000 loyal followers and thousands of online clients worldwide. If you want to dominate the online fitness world, have new clients and customers demand to work with you, and consistently get results, then let's talk. Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com now and click on that business tab.
Do you want to get the results you've always dreamed of? Do you want coaches that genuinely care, are professional, and get back to you in a timely manner? Do you want to be stronger, healthier, and look better naked? Then let me tell you, New York Muscle Radio is definitely your answer. Since working with them, I can hardly believe the results.
They coached me through a post-contest reverse diet and all the way through to an off-season strength program.
These two fitness geniuses have pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and in the process, I have been able to make big jumps on all of my major lifts.
In 14 weeks, I added 100 pounds to my powerlifting total and smashed my first meet.
Since working with them, I've added 55 pounds to my squat, 50 pounds to my deadlift, and 20 pounds to my bench press.
And in 12 weeks, I dropped over 10 pounds of body fat and added over 20 pounds to all my lifts.
I have never had as amazing of glutes as I have training with them. So I can say, no matter what your goals are, you're guaranteed to be stronger, healthier, and let's face it, better looking if Pete and Anthony are your coaches.
So if you are tuning in to listen and learn from the huge array of knowledge these two have, or if you want to hire them as your coaches, you will not be disappointed.
New York Muscle Radio is the best in the business.
You heard it from our New York Muscle Radio clients. Do you want to join our team and reach your fitness goals? Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com for all our coaching programs.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big Pete, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was like trying to check out what brand it was. Like I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean...
What can I do?
You gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious?
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as Fresh Perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Caffeine, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit buyproteincoffee.com now.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
All right, guys, we're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode number 153. How to stay on track with diet and exercise while traveling. Again, this podcast came at the perfect time because the Arnold Classic is this week and we are traveling ourselves. So it's perfect. We're going to give you guys the advice that we're going to go through for ourselves. So I think the first thing to talk about when you're traveling with fitness and your diet and everything training, you have to plan ahead. You got to plan your trips so you're if you can. This is all if you can. You know, sometimes work trips come up and we'll get into that later. But if you're always trying to plan ahead, so if you're planning a vacation, try to do it around the time when you're not dieting and you're coming off a reverse diet. This way, if you happen to go over your macros or go over your numbers, go over your calories a little bit, you can kind of enjoy yourself. You know, if you're planning a trip and you're in the middle of a diet or you're doing a contest prep diet or you're trying to diet for the vacation, that's kind of a mistake.
Yeah, agreed 100%, because you want to have a little bit of room for that flexibility just so you don't stress yourself out too much. There's nothing worse than being on a trip when you're dieting, if you're doing a contest or like if there's a real need to stick to your numbers 100%. But if you're not dieting, trying to hit numbers 100% and you're kind of just going about your life and fitting flexible dieting in, that makes traveling so much easier. That makes it even easier than if you were to follow a strict meal plan or anything like that, because you have the ability to be flexible. Okay, guys, we're going out to dinner here. Okay, fine. I'll fit in whatever they're eating at this location into my macros, into my calories for the day. I don't have to have specific foods, this or that. So that's what makes flexible dieting very easy. But anytime you're trying to cut weight, there's going to be more stress to it. So traveling, you don't want to purposely plan a big trip in the middle of all that. Ideally, you want to be, you want to be at a maintenance phase or even a gaining phase when you're traveling and dieting. But like everything else in life, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And if there's a time where you're dieting and you have to go on a trip or you want to go on a trip, don't make an excuse because you're dieting not to do it. You just have to take more initiative and planning to get it done.
Yeah, wait. So do you want to keep this like So I'm strictly talking about vacations, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about? Do you want to just go right after each topic and now talk about like for work? Like, so say someone had to go travel for work.
Yeah, sure. Because I think that's actually tougher for most people. Because like I said, with vacation, you'll get most of those people where they'll say, all right, I'm going on vacation, so I'll kind of just throw it out the window. Obviously, that's not the best way to do it. But with vacation, you kind of have that choice. You know, if I'm on vacation, do I want to stick to my diet or do I not want to stick to it? When you're working, now you have to say, all right, I'm going to have to be a little flexible, especially if it's a business trip, because you don't always have the luxury of eating where you want to eat or planning your meals the way you want to. So you have to be flexible. You also have to look ahead. So I think that's more difficult for most people to follow their diet is when it's a work-related thing or business or whatever it is, rather than if it's a leisure thing.
Yeah, 100%. You know, obviously, it's very hard to plan ahead as far as if a business trip comes up, but you want to try to make it, it's in your best interest if you can to always try to plan out as much as you can, to control what you can and control what you can. If you have to travel for work, you have to travel for work. What are you going to do? Not work? You know, you can't do that. So just try to plan ahead as best as you can. If you can't, you got to roll with the punches. So let's move on now, because then we'll roll right back into that. So I always recommend, this is for vacation or traveling, try to book a room with a kitchen so you can have some meals at home. A lot of people think that just because they're on vacation, they're not supposed to cook and they're supposed to eat out every meal. The problem with that is you're bound to gain back fat doing that.
Yeah, because you have less control over what it is that's in your meal. So if you go out and you order grilled chicken and vegetables, you can bet that there's probably butter in it, there's probably oil in it. You don't know the exact amount. Unless you're able to find a location where they do have the macronutrients and calories listed, then that makes it that much easier. But a lot of times, especially with business, you might go to a restaurant where you don't know it. They don't have the nutrition value on there. They don't have any of the information you need, and you kind of have to just wing it. It's going to make it a little more difficult. So you're going to run into that as well. But if you can prevent that, and you could cook some meals in your hotel room, wherever you're staying, to make up the majority of your meals. Now, that's going to make it a lot easier because you might have one meal. Maybe the dinner, you have to track a little bit more loosely, but the other meals you eat throughout the day, you know exactly what's in it because you prepared them. It's when you kind of just throw it all out the window, even if you say that you're estimating or you're tracking loosely, where if you're eating 3, 4, 5 meals out a day and you don't know the exact macros in any of them, that can add up over the course of the day to not fit those numbers. It's one thing if it's one meal and you're off by a couple grams here and there, but if you do that over the 4, 5, 6 meals a day, whatever it is you're eating, that'll add up, especially if you're doing that over a weekend now. And that's where you'll see most of the time people gaining weight when they travel, is because they eat every single meal out for 3 or 4 days at a time, and they really weren't 100% sure exactly what was in any of those meals. Generally, it's very, very hard to fit those numbers in. Unless you know what you're doing. I think me and Anthony are pretty confident that no matter where we go, where we travel, we won't have too much of trouble doing that. But if we were in like a dieting phase, it'd be very hard to be precise with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, the other thing that I would recommend doing too is, I mean, again, this is going to be different if you have to travel for work. If you have to travel for work and they just put you in a room, you're going to have no choice there. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't go to the store and can't get things that require. Most hotel rooms have a microwave. And if not, I'm pretty sure you can request the room with the microwave. But you could always just put some stuff in the microwave and just have food. You know, like we said, you do not have to eat out all the time. So, and you got to be prepared. So it's always going to come back to being planning ahead. So if you're on vacation, there's no excuse. You should always have a room with a kitchen. Plus, you'll save some money too, and you can actually spend money doing an excursion if you're on vacation. Whereas instead of spending that money, you know, to going out to eat. Because I mean, even if you went out, just you and your significant other, let's just say you went away with someone else, you're easily going to spend $100 on dinner. Yeah. Why not take that $100, you know, have some dinner in the room and use it to something else, or maybe not spend $70 for lunch and just put that toward an excursion, some type of memory that's going to last forever instead of food. This society is just so driven on food, it's insane.
Yeah, and I like to just giving a little more personal example. When I travel, the biggest thing I always do is, okay, I make sure even before I get there, or first thing I do when I get there is, have that food on hand so that, okay, I can eat whenever I want and not be forced to find the closest place to go eat, because that's another thing too. When you're not prepared, if you don't have food around, you'll jump on the first restaurant or the first place where there's food, which is probably not the best option. So if you're trying to fit something into your diet and you're starving, you go to a theme park or you go whatever, let me find the first food stand. Okay, there's only burgers and fries here. There's only chicken fingers and pizza. You'll eat that, and knowingly that it's probably not going to fit into your macros. Whereas if you're a little more prepared, oh, you know what, when I go here, they don't have anything, but I have some food in my room. Let me just go back to the room and eat really quick, or bring the food with you, bring the protein shakes, the protein bar, or whatever, have the protein bar, the protein shake, and try to find the best place to eat. At that point, you're better off rather than leaving it to the last minute, because so much of eating is emotional. And, you know, when you get tired, you get hungry, you're going to make your decisions based on emotion, and whatever's available is the most convenient. You're going to jump on that.
That's actually a good point, too. I didn't even realize that. And that's another thing that I do on vacation, too, is I always bring protein powder with me because it's very easy. You know how many times I've skipped breakfast and literally just had a protein shake, or, you know, I'm somewhere out on vacation and whatnot, and I just have a protein shake. Like, it's easy, especially when you have a kid, too. It's easy, even easier to bring food with you everywhere. But I've had the shake in the baby's carriage and just pull it out, drink it, put it back in. No one even knows the difference, you know, and you're still making progress. That's the whole thing, too, is that you don't want to go away. And yes, it's important to go away and enjoy yourself, but it's also important to go away and not lose ground on what you've been doing.
Right. Because you don't have to. People think that you have to. You have to compromise all the time. You have to make little sacrifices, but you don't have to set aside, okay, if I'm going away for this weekend, I'm not going to make any progress in muscle gain or fat loss. That's not true at all. Can you make the best progress you can over the course of those couple of days? You're going to be setting yourself up to make that a little more difficult, but do you have to totally throw that out the window? Not at all. Just because you're traveling, that's not a good excuse, and there's no reason to do that anyway, because you can make it work. Like we said, if you're going to do something like if you have to hit your protein requirement from taking in a lot of shakes, that's going to make everything that much easier. It's going to make it more convenient anyway. You may as well do it. You know, it might not be the most tasty way to do it, but you know what? Convenience sometimes is a little more important, especially if you're trying to get something done. You don't want to make anything harder than it has to be.
When I've traveled for business before in the past, one of the things that I used to do is literally I used to go to the store, buy oatmeal, and use my protein powder, and literally I would have like 3 or 4 meals. This is when I was really dieting. Of just literally oatmeal and protein powder. Mix it together, put it in the microwave, done.
I mean, I would do something very similar even when not dieting. Like even now when we travel for the weekend, I'm going to have some...
Not dieting is different. If you're dieting, it's different. You know, if you're not dieting, you know, it's important to hit your macros, but if you mess up a little bit, it's okay.
Right.
You can enjoy yourself a little bit more when you're not dieting.
Right. But even so, like if you have, like if we're traveling this weekend, you know, and you have a protein requirement to hit, you know, it's going to make it so much easier for me to have protein powder on hand, or when we get there to get some foods that are pretty high in protein that I could kind of make in bulk or just have on hand, you know, so I can hit those protein requirements and hit those calories without having, okay, I have to go find a place that serves grilled chicken, or I have to go find a dinner place where I can get a plate where it's large in protein. I make that stuff easy. And then when I want to fit the rest of my macros in, I can. Okay, I hit enough protein for the day. I have enough where one more meal, I might only need a few grams, 30, 40 grams, whatever it is. I could probably go anywhere for dinner and find a meal where I could hit that protein requirements without having to try and find it all day. Every single meal I go to, because I'm sipping on protein powder. I have food on me that's high in protein. I have stuff I could go to. So I could go out to eat maybe one meal for that night. And ideally, that's what I like to do when I travel. I like to eat out probably one time. Maybe if you want to eat breakfast and you want to eat dinner out, that's okay too. Breakfast generally is a little bit smaller for me when I travel. But I don't like to travel and try and hit all my macros. Normally, let's say I eat 5 meals a day. I don't want to go eat out 5 times in a day when I'm traveling.
Yeah, you just feel like crap doing that too.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I've done that before too. I mean, obviously, everything that we talk about, we've done in the past. But I've went on vacation before, and I've literally ate out the entire vacation. And toward the end of the vacation, like, all right, enough. I can't wait to go home and eat like normal food, like home cooked food.
Oh, it's actually disgusting. I mean, I have less of a tolerance for greasy food, oily food, and just the way most restaurants prepare food, or when you're traveling, the type of foods you'll eat. And my stomach just gets destroyed after a couple meals of that, even in one day, where I don't even want to do it anymore. So I try to avoid that, even regardless of the macro content, the calorie content. Just feeling good, having good digestive, just everything just feeling good. I would definitely try to avoid that. I would still prefer, even if I didn't care about calories, I would still do that.
Yeah. And this is why it's so important that you follow flexible dieting, because following flexible dieting will allow you to eat out or allow you to make more flexible choices. So if you're trying to diet and you get forced to go away while you're for work, you could still follow your diet and still have foods you normally would eat. So let's say you're away at work and the hotel has like a breakfast that you can have breakfast down there. What's it called? What's continental breakfast is called? Mm-hmm. So you could definitely, for argument's sake, I don't know, again, it's always going to depend on what the breakfast has, but it's always easy to get a carb on vacation.
Yeah. Never a problem.
Never going to be a problem with that. You're always going to have a problem finding protein powder. So again, if you went away for work and you needed to follow your macros, you follow flexible dieting, you have a protein shake, go down to the continental breakfast, get yourself some carbs for the day, and then have that. And make sure you take a good amount. So if your carb intake total is 200 for the day, so for argument's sake, say that, and you get a bagel for breakfast, that's 50 grams of your carbs done. You could take another bagel for later on in the day, and you're good to go. You got to look at food as fuel and not for comfort. A lot of people do that, and that's the problem. That's where a lot of people downfall. As soon as they're not home and out of their environment, it's like no holds barred when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You want to take the lifestyle that you already live and kind of just bring it with you. Try, when you travel and stuff like that, obviously you want to experience, let's say you're traveling to a different country, you're traveling to a different place where things are different. Obviously you want to experience the new thing there, but you still want to take your habits with you. Don't leave those at home and start trying to do something different.
Not to cut you off, but if you're traveling to another country, that's when you should really plan ahead and plan your trip, not to be doing it when you're dieting and the ideal time is if you're coming off a reverse diet, because then if you end up going over your calories a little bit, it's okay. So that's where planning ahead is always always so important. One of the things too, planning ahead, make sure you guys, if you're going on vacation or for work, if they'll give you this, if they'll lend you that, it's always important to try to rent a car. Renting a car, I think, is so worth it because you can go to the store, you can pick up a whole bunch of your needs. You can even pick up protein powder if you needed to. You can do all that stuff. You can get back and forth to different gyms. Because sometimes if you go away on vacation, we didn't even talk about it yet as far as training goes, but sometimes if you're going on vacation, you're stuck at the hotel gym. Mm-hmm. That's not cool. That's not fun because sometimes the hotel gym's dumbbells only go up to 50 pounds, and that's just not, they'll have like one treadmill and like a bench. So you have to really get creative with your workouts as far as that goes. But make sure you have a car. This way you can get to and from places. Again, if you're traveling for work and they don't give you a car, and if you have time, you don't be afraid to venture out. Get a cab. Go try to find the local gym. Take a bus. Don't be afraid to venture out. Don't be like a hermit. You have to stay in the hotel just because you're there for work.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with traveling is you have to be in charge of whatever it is that you do. I mean, obviously, there's going to be certain instances, like you said, if it's a work-related thing, you might not have the say over where you guys go for the business dinner or whatever it is. But you have control over Did I bring food with me? Did I give myself an option to find a gym? Am I prepared? Did I set my schedule up for the right way where I have time to go to the gym, where I have time to go shopping, where I have time? Did I bring protein with me? Did I bring, whatever it is that I need throughout the rest of the day, throughout the time that I can control? Did I prepare myself for that? So remember, you guys got to plan ahead for that, and you got to be proactive with that stuff, not reactive when, okay, last minute I'm starving. What's the quickest place? Where's the fastest place where I get food? Okay, it's a burger and fries. I guess I'm eating it. Don't put yourself in that position.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about training. Again, if you're going on vacation, it's important to plan a deload week for training. When you're on vacation, you want to mainly spend your time on vacation at the beach, at the park, at the amusement park, seeing all these beautiful sights. You don't want to be worrying about going to a gym. Or sometimes if you go to other countries, they don't have gyms there. So you always want to make that week of training or that 2 weeks kind of your deload training. Plan that in. Plan. Success is a planned event. You have to plan. Take your calendar and look how far away vacation is and kind of plan your training so that when it comes to vacation, you're going to be deloading and you're going to have that break from training. If you're stuck traveling for work and you have no choice, well, then make it your mission to try to find the gym at some point in the night. Now, gyms are 24 hours a day, so even after a whole day worth of meetings, you can still go to the gym. You can still get it done.
Yeah, as long as you plan ahead with that, that's not going to be an issue. I mean, you should always assume, especially when traveling, you're going to be out of your element, so things are going to be different. So, yeah, you can plan for a deload, or at least plan that week training is not going to be exactly the way that you planned it. And there's nothing wrong with either planning a deload in there or taking that week and however you want to structure it into your training to make it fit in the overall picture where there's going to be a slight variation to your training in that week. But plan ahead accordingly and know that you're going to be out of your element. You might not have access to the same equipment. Things are going to be different. And myself personally, I actually like to kind of change things up a little bit with my training when I am traveling because I might be in a new facility, new gym, different equipment. And I'm not counting on the fact that I'm going to have access to the exact same equipment, the exact same time that I'm training or whatever. So I kind of use that as a way to enjoy my training in a little bit different way and do something different with it, So use whatever you have to your advantage and plan ahead, which will be to your advantage. Plan ahead that your training is going to be different for that period of time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Kind of lost my train of thought here. What the hell was I going to go with this? There was something else that I wanted to mention about traveling. Wow, man, I'm getting old. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. Whew. Man, I'm not that old. So yeah, let's talk about the Arnold Classic this weekend, man, because we're going to the Arnold Classic. What are we doing so far? Like, how are we planning for this? What are we doing? Let's let everyone know. So, one of the things we're doing is we made sure we planned ahead, obviously. So for me, the Arnold Classic is coming on a week that it's my intro week, so it's kind of like a deload week. I did a deload and test, on Sunday. We're recording this. It's going to be for Monday, so you listen to this on a Monday. So this week of training is kind of a little lighter for me. It's not that much intensity. It's a little lower volume. So if I happen to, for whatever reason, miss a workout, which would be physically impossible at the Arnold Classic, but if I happen to miss a workout, it would be okay. I would still be able to pack things in if I had to. I could still get my workouts done. So that was another smart thing on my end. I planned ahead. As far as diet goes, we got a room with a great view because me and Pete have to look at each other when we go to sleep at night. But we got a room with a kitchen. So what we plan on doing is, since we rented a car, we're going to go to like a store, some type of store down there. I don't know what they have. We'll find one. And we're going to buy some food. This way we don't have to rely on eating out every meal. Because last year when we went, we ate out every meal. And it was just... By the end of it, like I said, by the end of the vacation, you're just like, I don't want to eat out anymore, man. I'm so sick of eating like that.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And, the first thing that you have to do is, and this is what we're planning, is we might even actually do this before we even get to the hotel, is you stop and you get that food before you even get to the hotel. Because like I said, you want to plan that out ahead of time. So when we're there, we already want to have access to whatever it is that we need. So we don't want to have to leave it to last minute where, okay, now I got to go to the store, but you know what? We're starving and we got to eat really fast. So now let's, you're already starting off on a bad foot. So the first thing you got to do is make sure you're prepared right when you get there. So you be prepared. You plan ahead. If we're going to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we're going to leave Sunday, then we know, okay, we're going to need food for X amount of meals, whatever it is. We're going to probably want to eat breakfast Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. Probably going to want to eat lunch Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we might leave dinner open for one meal each night, Plus, we got to have food on hand for the extra macros, the extra protein powder, the extra carbs that we might need for the day. So we're going to want to stock up on that stuff too. But we want it all on hand to know that it's going to last us while we're there. We don't want to wait till last minute. Oh, run to the store and get this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, protein powder I'm not going to bring with me because I already know it's going to be there. Like, there's so many packets of protein, so I'm not worried about that. I'll bring a shaker bottle with me. The other thing, too, that what I'm going to talk about, too, bringing my whole gym bag. So I'm planning on my gym bag, taking all my stuff with me that I normally would train with. That's going to be, so I'll have 2 bags. And when I've traveled and I went, out of state, I've always done that. I've always brought my gym bag, and you always get funny looks when you go through customs and they pull out, like, all this stuff out of your gym bag. It's so funny. But, yeah, I always make sure I bring my gym bag with my separate gym stuff, and then I bring my regular bag for whatever else I need. But yeah, I'll bring my gym bag. I'll bring a shaker bottle because, like I said, we can definitely get protein down there, protein powder anyway. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's an easy weekend to plan for, though.
Yeah, I mean, and once you start doing it, you'll learn a little bit more about how you work well with traveling and times that you eat and the stuff that you need and what's convenient for you, because we could give you examples of what we do, but it might be a little bit different for you. Like I said, that's kind of the way we approach it. We always like to leave that one meal open pretty much for dinner, just to have some flexibility in there. But we want to make sure that we're covered for the rest of the day. And it doesn't really take much to cover us for the rest of the day because we need just some protein sources. We need some carbs. It's not that hard. If we want to go out and get breakfast, it's not that hard to get a bagel or something like that and have a protein shake with it, and hit our protein requirements, some carb requirements, go train, come back, eat something, and then have dinner later in the day. It's not all that hard, but if we were relying solely on trying to hit our macros just by going out to eat, it would be very, very, very difficult. Even if you had plenty of macros to work with, let's say you're bulking, you're eating 3,500 calories a day, you're eating 4,000 calories a day, yeah, it would make going out to eat at those restaurants for every meal easier, but you know what? It's very hard to hit specific macros when you're focus solely on what it is that the menu is providing. So you want to have a little more control over that. So it's almost impossible unless you're preparing some of your own meals.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think to summarize this all I would just basically say you have to make sure that you're well prepared. Just prepare as much as you can and try to, whatever you can control. So if you can't control your job sending you away for work, control what you can. Maybe wake up earlier in the morning before your meeting or whatever. Go to the gym. Find the gym. If you don't have a gym, go to the hotel gym. Really try and stay on course with your goals. You'll be thankful that you did that. And this is all about making fitness a lifestyle. So you have to be able to make it a lifestyle. That's how you're going to get results forever. So making it a lifestyle is doing it every day. It doesn't matter what kind of a day you have. You still brush your teeth every day, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So you have to do the same thing. You have to fit fitness into your life no matter what. Don't use these hiccups in the road as, shit, there goes the diet. I'm not going to be able to do it. Don't make excuses. Just do.
Yeah, and it's much easier to do this if this is how you're already living your lifestyle. It's very easy to keep doing what you're already doing. When you travel, just continue to do it. Don't try and do this now because you're traveling. Start doing this on a regular basis, and then when you travel, just do the same thing you normally do.
All right, big guy. 'Tis your turn.
Pete and Anthony, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.